Yeah, it's a lot of violence and it's a lot of negative behavior that is associated with gangster rap music, but that's because it was a lot of violence and negative behavior actually happening. So what they did, they put it to paper and they put it to music. That's all it was. And she just started screaming, "Ah, they killed Biggie! They killed Biggie!"
He was like, "Shh. Oh, I ain't worried about that. I ain't show you." Oh, went in the closet, his first AK ever bought. He came out, shh, because if someone come up in here, shh, shh, shh. Wait, shh, good. Woo! You saw that? Shot the floor and the sofa all up.
King, well, generally back during that time, if you tried to run from the police, when and if they caught you, they would first of all reward the dog, and because there's always going to be a dog involved, they reward the dog by allowing the dog to chew on you for several minutes. Then maybe about 10 or 15 police officers would proceed to try to break as many bones in your body as possible. Because the police would write in the report, well, the individual fell. He fell off the curb and fractured his skull and broke his ribs and broke pretty much every bone in his body. And it would be accepted as a report. Believe in God. Back in the day, at the height of the gang wars and the crack wars and all that, there was so many murders that was going on in the city that the only person that was happy about it was Mr. Adams, who owned the funeral home right around the corner. Well, Mr. Adams, he's getting money right and left because these guys are killing each other. But
I think life as a musician would be hard for two reasons. One is the rigorous lifestyle they have to lead, touring the world, being away from their families. That has to take a toll on them. And secondly, I think art can be torturous. The desire to always create something bigger and better and inspiring, and feeling that need to constantly create and tap into something in you that won't relent has to be tiresome. And I'm sure that can really bring artists down, musicians.
I think depending on what kind of musicianship you choose to follow, whether that's like classical music in a theater or if it's starting your own band, I think it could vary. I think it would probably require a lot of hours that aren't typical work days. I'm sure your job wouldn't be 9 to 5. It would probably be on the weekends and at night, depending on when you practice and when you perform. So I think it would be probably less normal in the sense that it's not a 9 to 5. So it's probably more flexible in terms of the hours.
Well, I think that it's a lot harder than what a lot of people think. I think it's very hard to make a full living as a musician, and I think it takes lots of creativity, and there are lots of good musicians that don't make it in life as a musician.
I think I would say yes on that, and then I'm going to return to the idea of art. I think in the art world at large, there's more drug use, I think, and we know that from poets and writers and sculptors and painters throughout time, that there's always been this prevalence of drugs within the scene. So musicians, yes, I would say yes.
I don't know. I mean, I've only known a few musicians from where I grew up, and I'm not sure if they were involved in that, but I do think the lifestyle where you're performing at night, maybe at a bar or a club, perhaps you'd be exposed to more substances. And also because it's probably a tough life when you're on the road, on a bus, maybe traveling to play shows, that people might eat away to pass the time. I'm not sure if there's been any studies linking it, but I can see how it would be tempting for one to get into those habits.
Well, I would say that the lifestyle might lead itself to one to try certain substances. I would say that there could be a higher rate per capita than in the general population, but I don't know for sure.
Violence.
Interesting. I haven't really thought about violence. My thought would be no. But I've really never thought too much about, do I see a lot of violence in the music scene? So my thought would be no. Violence is everywhere.
I don't necessarily see a correlation with music and violence. I've been to a lot of concerts in my life, and I've never seen a fight, both on stage or off stage. So I don't I don't see that, but I'm not in a band and I'm not in that scene, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's the same.
I think that depends on the artist. If the artist is happy with a roof over their head and 3 square meals and the ability to create their art, their music, then that's success. So you have to define success. If you're looking to buy 12 mansions and 15 yachts, then you're really going to have to work hard, and you're really going to have to tap into the mainstream in a way that allows you to bring in a lot of income, which can distract from the art. So it depends on what you mean by success.
I think it depends on the country you're in. In Denmark, I think they foster the arts more here, and musicians actually get free space to work in, and you get more government funding. Whereas, like in the U.S., you'd be a struggling musician, and you'd really probably have a hard time paying rent unless you had other jobs. So I think you'd have to be pretty talented, but not just talented. You'd have to be found. So you could be extremely talented and no one's found you, and therefore you haven't got a record deal. But if you're found by the right agent, then hopefully the money would start coming in and you could make it on your own.
Well, I think, you have to be very successful. I'd say that most people don't make it for life as a musician by itself, like a self-sustaining, musician. But I think that a lot of it also is the right place, right time, circumstance, and also being very talented.